You're invited to a picnic, monster picnic, but humans are allowed today to...
The Monster Plantation is a marvelous team effort between 5 different design companies. Each have their own function, and I would say that we're involving at least 100 artists, designers, and technicians.
I'd been in this animation business for about 45 years, and the last 10 years I was working at WED, doing shows for Disneyland and Disney World. And Dave Gickenbach, who was working for Six Flags, approached me. I've been retired 3 years. He approached me and asked me if I'd do a ride.
The whole project came together like this, and that's the nice thing about it.
I told him if he would turn it over to this Goddard production, they could do it. It was Gary Goddard, Tony Christopher, and Phil Mendez, who incidentally is one of the greatest cartoonists I've seen come by in the last 40 years in animation.
So what happens is that we said, well, we got to have a theme, something to theme this thing with.
And now we had to come up with an idea. And I had no idea what the idea was going to be.
So we said, okay, why don't we have to make it a sunken plantation?
So I was playing with my little granddaughter a little later on, and I was scaring her, and she was scaring me. Then she left the room, then she finally came back, and she says, I'm a big monster. And I says, where did she get that? So I says, if this little kid knows about monsters, you know, this could be a great family ride.
We've put everything we can in there, friendly monsters and monsters that talk to you. And
also scare people, because people like to be scared.
The first half's kind of like a dream, and the second half's kind of like a nightmare.
On Miss Scarlet, initially she was a Chamber of Commerce lady, and she would sit there, this big fat thing, you know, sitting there and sell T-shirts and everything as we go on a ride. And she says, oh, come on in, hon, you just have a good time, sweetheart. You just love this ride, honey. Like that, you real wild hair and everything like that. And then we go by her, and then we go by the band, see? And Gary and the guys worked up a whole bunch of stuff, you know, dialogue and stuff for this lady. And then I did, oh God, it had to be 4 or 5 sketches of Miss Scarlet gradually changing that we did until we got to the one we have now.
Let's say we resolve all this stuff.
sketch a few things.
Okay, but if we resolve all that stuff, once we get inside, then we're going to see the characters. What do you think the first thing we should see?
I think this should be a
After you've established the characters and the storyline, the next step is to take and create a 3-dimensional model that's based on the sketches that Phil and the story sessions come up with. Well, we got to get
situated in a way that it's going to work.
Get that going counterclockwise, and the dancers will go around clockwise. Once we have that one-dimensional scale model, it's all done in 1-inch scale, and by 1-inch scale I mean anything that's 8 feet tall is 8 inches tall on the model. Then we can bring in all of our technical people, and we can talk about the various production aspects. Then we go to AVG Productions, which is responsible for fabricating the full-scale figures.
After which you can make a mold of it, and then from that mold you make a fiberglass shell, and if necessary in certain kinds of figures, then you would make a skin made out of some flexible material, latex or polyurethane rubber, at which time you can transfer the whole plastics section to animation, where it will be plumbed or pneumatically wired up. And then it can be sent off to cosmetics, at which time it goes through several other kinds of steps, either fur or painting or costumes. It's only after all of those steps that it can finally be programmed. The people in this area being the most highly skilled in making a machine which specifically does a movement which makes something look alive.
And if it continues that way all the way down to the end, it'll be a fantastic ride.
It's a prototype, okay? So when we design this ride, we want people to know that they can't see it anywhere else. The only place they can see it is at Six Flags Over Georgia, starting in 1981.